Hello coders! It is the GroggyOtter here with my second video on my brand new YouTube channel. Now if you haven't gone and seen the first one, it's optional, but I hope you do. I put a lot of work into it. I think it turned out all right. But if you're going to start learning AutoHotkey V2, this right here is the video that you want to start with. This is where we're going to actually install AutoHotkey to your system. We're also going to get you a text editor, which is what we use to write code with. In this case, we're going to go with Visual Studio Code, or what we call VS Code. We're using VS Code because there's a very important add-on that a member of our community, THQBY, has written for us, and it gives us AHK V2 support in VS Code. This is going to make your coding life so much easier. You're going to get autocompletes, you're going to get auto suggestions, you're going to get error detection, you're going to get information about what parameters go into functions or method calls. You're going to get return values. You're going to get all kinds of stuff that is going to make your coding life so much simpler. And on top of that, we're also going to enhance that add-on with something that I personally wrote myself. It took me the better part of a year. And it was a full rewrite of the definition file and the autocomplete file. And these things we're going to put on top of the add-on, and it's going to make your coding life even more simpler, even more error resistant. But before we get into it, let's hear a word from our sponsor, me. Yeah, I don't have a sponsor. I don't have enough subscribers yet. If you want to sponsor me, let me know.
I just burned my tongue.
We're going to start this off by installing Visual Studio Code. Now this is a text editor that you're going to use to write code for AHK. You can use it to write code for pretty much any language. One of the big benefits from this is that there is an add-on for AHK V2 language support created by a member of our community named THQBY, and it's one of the big selling points of us using Visual Studio Code. It's why it is currently the gold standard for writing AHK V2 code. Now, you're going to want to go to code.visualstudio.com/download. These addresses will all be in the description, so you don't have to type them out. And we are interested in doing the Windows install, obviously, because AHK only works on Windows. Now you have a user installer and a system installer. These are the two that you need to decide on which one you want. The user installer will install VS Code to the app data folder, which is a folder that every profile or account gets on a computer. So this would be pretty much like a local install specifically for your account. Then you have the system installer, and this will install VS Code to the more traditional program files folder that most programs tend to install to. Now, on that note, there are two versions. Most of you are going to want the x64 system installer. Now, if you can't install the program files for some reason, or if you prefer to install the app data, then by all means, please use the installer. Now, the reason that I do suggest the system installer is because I have read of more than a couple problems that have been caused by the user installer, and the remedy was to use the system installer. I have not seen the inverse, so I am going to advise using the system installer. So you go to click this, and you're going to get a download screen. It's going to go ahead and download it. So we have VS Code downloaded, and we're going to go ahead and run it. You're going to get a little pop-up like this, accept, next. You can choose which one of these you want. If you want to leave it just as default, that's probably for the best. Go ahead and hit next and then install, and it is going to take just a moment to install this.
A few moments later.
So now that that's installed, we can go ahead and run VS Code. If you had yours set to auto launch, it'll launch, and you get the splash page here. Let's go ahead and blow this up a little bit. Now, what we're going to do is install the AHK V2 language support next. Go to the left side of the screen, click on extensions here, and you're going to type AHK V2. Go ahead and enter. And you want the one that is by THQBY, the AutoHotkey V2 language support. There will be an install button here. Go ahead and click install. It is an instantaneous thing, and you're good to go. I would also suggest checking the auto update checkbox. Now, I do want to go ahead and do a quick tangent. He has 29 5-star reviews. That is a criminally low amount considering this has been installed almost 100,000 times. So if you can find it in your heart to go and give him a 5-star rating, that would be awesome, especially when you realize how great this add-on is. We're already in the extensions, so let's go ahead and get a dark theme. This is something that I harp on a lot. Let's go ahead, you can type a theme and you can have all kinds of different ones. You can go through, you'll have more to go through than you could possibly count. But I am going to suggest some to you guys here. I've never used Slack dark theme. it looks all right. But there's 3 that I'm going to suggest, and these are ones that I have used in the past. And the first one I'm going to introduce you to is the sunset theme. I like this one. It's basic. I like the colors. Obviously, it just looks good. It works, and I used this one for a while. Give it a shot. The next one, please don't be put off by the name here. This one is Neon Vomit. Now, while not probably the best choice of names, we do have a good color layout. I really like the different colors they used here. The neon colors, they really pop and they look good. I would prefer it a little bit darker, but I do believe they have another one here that might be the darker version. So maybe check out Neon Vomit Extra Dark. I'll probably have to play with this later. I like this. This looks really good. You should check out this one too. The last one I'm going to suggest is Expressive Theme. Now, Expressive Theme is the one that I actually ended up basing my own theme off of. Really liked a lot of the stuff they did in here. One of the big selling points for me was that this one had included the fact that you can colorize string quotes, and I really liked that. Find something that you like, a color scheme that you like. You're going to be looking at this screen a lot when you write code. So find something that is aesthetically pleasing to you and that is dark. Again, the whole point of this is to protect your eyes, okay? I also want to mention VS Code, highly customizable. Everything you see in there for syntax highlighting can be changed in some way or another. You just have to learn how to. And I may very well make a video on VS Code and all of its little nuances and, you know, trying to come up with stuff that you guys would benefit from. But I'm just getting at the point that if you want something to look exactly like you want it, you can do it if you put the time into it. All right, one last thing that we're going to get is a add-on called Error Lens. It is a simple add-on that will show you when you have an error in your code. Normally you would have to hover over it in order to get a message as to why it's a problem. This just puts the problem directly onto the line. It is not actual code. It is just a message built into the background of the text editor, so you can see exactly what is wrong. In this case, this is missing a parenthesis, and in this one they are assuming that you're missing a semicolon. This is for a different language, obviously not AutoHotkey, but it does apply to AutoHotkey because it handles errors in the same way. So if you were to be missing a parameter that is required in a function call, it would have a message saying, you know, expected 2 parameters but only received 1 or something like that. All right, one of the last things we're going to do is we're going to install an enhancement file for AutoHotkey v2. This is completely optional. You do not have to do this, but I would suggest it because it's going to add a lot of good stuff to your add-on. The first thing I'm going to suggest is make up a folder for your code, for your scripts. In this case, I made an AHK folder on my D drive, and this is where I'm going to store all of the scripts that I write for this video series. You'll notice that I made a couple other ones here. The add-on definition file is something that I would create just so you have a place to put these enhanced syntax files. So go ahead, create an add-on definitions folder, and this is where we're going to put our stuff. What I'm going to have you do is go to my GitHub, and we're going to get the definition rewrite from here. Now it's github.com/GroggyOtter. This is what it looks like, and it should be one of my pinned repos here, AHKv2 definition rewrite. There's a lot of different repos here. If you want to go snooping around, see what's up there, have fun. Go ahead. That's what it's there for. So we're going to go to AHKv2 definition rewrite. Go ahead and scroll down here, and this is going to teach you everything about it, from installing it to what changes I made. These are the change logs here. What it actually provides you is in the in-depth showcase. There's a discussion about widget types. There's a lot of different stuff in here. Now, first of all, the only files that you actually need are this one right here. This is the definition file, and then there's ahk2.json. This is the autocomplete file. Now, to write these files, it took the better part of a year because I took all of the docs and put it into the add-on. There's 2 ways to install it. The first is to use the definition updater file. This is a script I wrote that will download the current versions of the syntax files, and it will put them where they need to be. Now, this was the original way of doing it, and it works, but there's a catch. You have to do this every time that THQBY updates his add-on. What's happening is the original syntax files are being replaced, and when it is updated through VS Code, it will delete those old syntax files and instead use fresh ones. Now, this does work, and it also ensures that you always have the most up-to-date definition files. However, THQBY was aware of this syntax file that I wrote, or syntax files, and he accommodated by adding a type of support for it in the add-on. And this is the way that I suggest doing it. Now, first of all, we're going to download this repo. Go down here to download zip, and you can go ahead and save it. I already got a copy of it right here. Matter of fact, I'm going to cut that. All right, we're going to paste it into here. And really what we need here is just these two files. This is it. This is all you got to pull into here. And after you've done that, you're good to go. You can go ahead and delete this other file. You don't need it. You have the two files that you need. If you go up to the address bar here and click in it, it should highlight it all. If it doesn't, go ahead and highlight it. And you can copy this out, cut it out. Either way works. But you want the path that your files are stored in. Then you open up VS Code. You're going to click on the gear down here, the Manage gear, and you're going to choose Settings. You can also do Control, Comma. That works as well. And then up here in the search settings, you want to type in hotkey. Now let me go ahead and blow this up real quick. Here is all the options for his add-on, for the V2 add-on. And you should go through these at some time and read through them. You don't have to understand what everything is, but if you do find something that you like, you can mess with it. And one of the things I want to point out real quick, just as an example, AutoHotkey 2 complete function parens, or parentheses. Now, when you use a function, you should be using parentheses with it. This is just a good coding practice, and it's something that I will teach you, and it's something that you'll notice consistently in my code. If you put a check mark in here, anytime you use a function, it will automatically put parentheses with that function, so you don't have to type them. This is not checked by default, if I remember right, so this is neat. I have this checked, and honestly, I think most of you should check it because it's just a good coding practice, and it does it for you. It saves you typing. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the syntaxes folder. And here it is down here. You scroll, it's almost at the very bottom. And this little edit box here, this is what he added in. And you can put a path to where you're storing these files. In this case, if I were to do this, I can do, bam, let me go ahead and just cut that out of there because I'm going to need that in a second. We pasted the path to our files, which we have right here. Now, by putting the path here, the add-on will automatically check this path for the syntax files, and it will apply those files to the add-on, essentially ignoring the original syntax files. So why is that great? Because you only have to do this one time. When you update the add-on, this path will not get changed. It will not get edited. It will always remember this path, and that means that when you reinstall, or rather upgrade the add-on, it will automatically go straight back to this folder to get its definition files, its autocomplete files, and any snippet files you might put in there. So this is the way I suggest, just by virtue of you not having to update it anymore after you have it in here. All right. And that's all there is to it. You've got it installed. All you had to do is download the files, put them in a folder, copy the path of the folder, and paste it into, and then paste it into this path where it says AHK2 syntaxes. So I'm going to go ahead and paste my original one back in here, and we can go ahead and close that out. There's nothing else to do. You're done. The difference now is when you go to do something like message box, you're going to get all this extra stuff. All of it's going to be formatted. There's going to be highlighting. There's going to be hyperlinks, all of this stuff. And errors are going to be included. Links to things that apply to this, just like in the documents. And a lot of them will even have example code. This all comes from my add-on, from my enhancement. Now, again, you don't have to install this, but I do suggest that you consider it. All right, that wraps up installing VS Code. You now have the ability to write AutoHotkey V2 code using this text editor. The only problem is that we can't run it because we don't have AutoHotkey installed yet. So let's do that next. Let's start by going to the AutoHotkey website. That's AutoHotkey.com. Again, links down in the description. There's a couple links really quick that I want to talk about before we get to the download. First of all, we have the documentation link. If you need to get to the documents, this is a quick way to do it. Go to AutoHotkey 2, and it will take you to the documents. I would suggest bookmarking this page. It is the go-to place for getting information. You should be heading here before you Google, before you use AI, before you come to the subreddit or go to the forums. This should be your first stop. The index will host everything in the language as is. So if you have a specific function, method, class, whatever to look up, you should be able to look it up here in the index. If you're not sure what to look up, use the search function. It works well. It searches all the docs. It uses a good search algorithm, and I've had this find things that Google and other searching could not get me to. So don't underestimate the search function. Head back to the website. There's also a link to the forums here. If you go here, this is the actual main official AHK forum. You can make an account here. There's some real smart people that hang out here, brilliant minds, way smarter than I am for sure, and you can get help here. I'm not trying to discourage you from going to the AutoHotkey subreddit, which is where I spend most of my time. We would love to see you over there. Please do come over there if you need help. But I do want to point out that you have another option here as well as the subreddit. I do want to give a shout out to JoeDF and Tank. Love those guys. All right, let's get it downloaded. Go ahead and click the download button, and we're going to get two options here. Obviously, we want 2.0, so we're going to go ahead and download this. But I do want to talk really quick about 1.1 deprecated. Deprecated is a good word to know if you're in programming. What it means is that something is pretty much out of life, meaning it's not used anymore. It's deprecated. It is the old version. It is not supported anymore. It may still be available, but the person who is creating or maintaining this is explicitly telling you, don't use this anymore. We're done with this. So that's why everything on this channel will be related to AHK 2.0. Now that we have this downloaded, we can go ahead and start it up. Click on this, and you're going to get a real simple installer here. All you need to do is pick where you want to install to and what mode to use. And the general rule is, unless you have a reason to change any of these, don't. Just leave the default stuff. Click install, and I'm going to get a pop-up because I have my main script running. You should not get a pop-up unless you have a script running. Click OK here, and bam, it is done just that quick. We have the dashboard now that comes up. So let's talk about the dashboard. We have links here to informational pages in the reference manual or in the documents. These are not meant to be like reference manual pages where it tells you about a specific thing and all of its options and how to use it. Instead, these are pages that have information about how to write a hotkey, how to send keystrokes. They're educational in nature. Not everything in the docs is a reference manual page. Now let's look at the left side here. We have multiple different options to choose from. First of all, let's go through all of these. New script, you're probably not going to use it. You're going to make your new scripts through VS Code, and we will be covering that in the next video. Compile. This is a misnomer. When we talk about compilation, what we're doing is we're talking about compiling code down into machine code. Languages like Rust and C, those are compiled languages. They have to go through a compilation process every single time you want to run them. AutoHotkey is not compiled. It is interpreted, meaning it goes through the code one line at a time and executes as needed. What this means when it says compile is what it's doing is taking a copy of your script, a copy of the interpreter, which is actually pretty small, and it puts them together in a self-extracting zip file that is an executable. When you run it, it's unzipping itself, and then it's running the script through the interpreter just the same as though you had installed AutoHotkey on that computer and ran it. It's the same process. At no point is the code ever being compiled. Next, let's talk about help files. This links you to the help documentation that is installed locally every time you install AutoHotkey. Whenever you install a version, you get a copy of the documentation for that version. In this case, 2.0.19 being the current version. That is the one that's shown. If I go to more, you'll notice I have all these other different versions. That's because I've had all of these installed. They are still on my system, and I do have access to the help file from all of them, but realistically, you'll never use these. Or you can use the online documentation. That works just the same. Or you can just rely on the add-on support or the add-on enhancement that I provided you, because most of the documents are now built into VS Code. What about Windows Spy? Boy, I got something to say about this real quick. This is not spyware. About every month we get somebody posting to the AHK subreddit talking about how they found spyware in the AHK install. This is not spyware. This is a tool. This is a script that was created to help the user get information about the attributes of a window. So you'll notice that when I target the dashboard, it gives me things like the title of it, the AHK class, the EXE, the PID. It gives me information about this window, including the controls and the mouse positioning, all of that stuff, status bar info, the text that's visible. This is to make your life easier, and Windows Spy is not spyware. Let's go down to launch settings. We're not even going to deal with this. This is configuring how .ahk files work in reference to V1 versus V2. That's pretty much what this is about. We're not going to get into that. We're not dealing with V1. But editor setting, yes, we will talk about this. Matter of fact, I had us install Visual Studio Code first just to make this part easier and so we didn't have to come back to the dashboard. Because we have Visual Studio Code already installed, we can select it as our editor. Now, to be clear here, I'm going to tell you two things that happened when we just did this install. When we installed AutoHotkey, the installer went into the registry and made some changes for us, along with some other stuff, that told Windows, hey, whenever there's a .ahk file and the user runs it, you need to send it to the AHK interpreter. So that makes your life easier. You don't have to drag your script onto the interpreter to run it or type in some kind of command line that sends it to it. You just double click the script and Windows knows, oh, hey, he's trying to run this script. I'm going to pass it to the AHK interpreter, which is great. That's why I tell people use the installer. Don't use the standalone if you don't need to. But the editor setting that we just did, what this does is this adds an option when you right click on a file, or if you right click on an active script, you will have an edit option. If you click on this edit option, it will open your code in VS Code now. This makes your life just a little bit easier. But at this point, you now have AutoHotkey installed and it is running and everything is good to go. And that pretty much wraps everything up. You have AutoHotkey installed on your computer now. You can run scripts. You also have VS Code installed on your computer with all those add-ons, the goodies, the dark theme. You can now write AHK code, save it, run it, use it as you see fit. And that's what we're going to go over in the next video. We're going to talk about making that first script. We're going to create a script. We're going to add code to it. We're going to save it, run it, and then exit out of it. We're going to go through the whole script lifecycle. And not only are we going to do that, but I'm also going to teach you shortcuts for all of those steps. So that way you're not just navigating around, with your little mouse. On that note, we're going to wrap up this video. Congratulations on getting everything installed, and we're going to see you in the next one. I want to end all of my videos on the same note, and that's by thanking you for watching my content. It's appreciated. If you learned something from this video, if you liked the video, or if you think somebody else might find it useful or might learn something from it, please consider hitting the like button, because your vote, it does count. You can help change YouTube's algorithm. You can help shift it towards pushing my content out to those that might find it beneficial. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I want to humbly request that you do so. I'm brand new to this whole YouTube thing, and I'm trying to build a user base. I would be honored to have you as one of my subscribers. Plus, the amount of subscribers I have lets me know how many people are engaged in the channel and that are consuming my content. The more subscribers I get, the faster and more content I will put out. Finally, if you want to help support the channel, help support the cause, then please consider checking out my Ko-Fi link. I'll include it down in the description of every video I have. You can do a one-time donation or do a subscription. Either way, it sure is appreciated. But regardless of all of that, if you don't want to like, subscribe, or donate, that's okay too. Because the point of this channel is to teach as many people as I can about AutoHotkey V2. So the content will keep coming and it will remain free. Finally, I want to say thank you so much for investing your time in both me and my channel. It truly is appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.